In January 2025, Rich and I are going to do about £420,000 in revenue between the two companies. In today's episode, we look at where that revenue comes from, how we've built those pipelines, and what we're going to be doing in 2025. Let's get into it.
Boom. That t-shirt really brings out your complexion.
This cost me five.
Did you sleep in that?
Cost me £5 on eBay. Do you think it's too shit?
In 1988. Oh, it was eBay wasn't around then, but yeah.
It's a bit washed out, isn't it?
Has it got curry stains on it?
It's actually really clean because Lindsay she gets a new detergent thing from Savers and it smells unbelievably good. Whereas before she got one and it was like, it took away the badness, but it didn't add nice smell. This thing genuinely smells great. Looks shit, smells great. We've now lost, looking at the YouTube stats, Rich, we have, just to let you know, we have lost, are you still there? Yeah, you are. We have lost about 80% of our viewers now. So we've killed them with that t-shirt banter. But we're going to go in and we're going to start talking about what we want to talk about, which is going to be sales in January. So our two businesses are going to do about, what did you say, Mahara 330?
In the region of that, yeah.
In the region of 330. Kalium will do about 25. Marketing Pros will do about, I think, 65. Okay? All right. I want to know your pipeline pumping with leads. What have you done? What have you done to get it going? And just tell me about the sort of shit you got in there.
So when the venture market was really tricky last year, we decided to not pivot per se, but change the business mix a fair bit. So it's springtime. So we started to change the business mix. So we started talking to slightly later stage startups. So startups that are well funded, corporate venturing. We started to partner with venture studios as well. That was the biggest step change. So we've started working with, I guess, businesses that still need our support and we know we can add value, but have, I guess, bigger. They're more mature, right? So they're more financially secure.
What's an example, Rich? What's an example of like turnover company size that you're dealing with now versus 12, 18 months ago?
So on the startup side of it, I mean, we build innovative tech product, but on the startup side of it, the majority of our startups historically have been pre-revenue. Of course they have, and we're running on angel investment friends and family VC. So that lives there. So it's all pre-revenue. We the cap of the other businesses is about 50 million annual. That's normally the cap of where we stop, because that kind of is a sort of size of business that we can have influence on still, and is small enough to be nimble, and not be a giant company with mass loads of procurement layers and things like that.
And do those tend to be on a sort of startup journey, or are you also doing it for more banal businesses that just need some tech on the side?
Yeah, we don't do banal businesses. We do the innovation for businesses. So we've got one company that they work within building materials.
You don't think that's banal?
Give me a sec. I was going to say the industry maybe, but they're in building materials. They're a really good company, really established, been around for yonks, profitable, do some really great things in their sector. But we're building the innovative tech product that's going to evolve their business. So we've got like a little slice of what their business is. We're not going to go and work with the business and work on their legacy code and their legacy products, not us. We do the innovative product thinking. We're startup builders.
Yeah.
So whilst the businesses we work with are bigger, we're still doing the work that we love. We're still doing the work that we're great at, which is the early stage work, just in a slightly different environment. And that was the biggest step change last year. And then that's just continued to work. So the work that we won in Q4 last year is now beginning to scale up. So we start small and it's that land and expand, thin end of the wedge kind of stuff.
And how do you find those leads, Rich, then? So you've changed the the type of sort of persona that you're selling to. You're going less completely
Or
early
added
stage.
one. Or added
Yeah.
one, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then that added one, how have you got that pipeline built?
A lot of hard work, a lot of outreach. It's been pretty much business development. To date, even though we're just launching our first internal marketing department, today it's been sole business development. We've got some referral plans in there, which I think we've spoken about before, but it's networking, meeting people, hard yards.
How do you find a business that just needs is it, who are you selling to? Are you selling to the owners? Are you selling to like an internal product team? Is it just all sorts?
Yeah, they're at the size where we're still getting stakeholder buy-in from the founders or the owners or the CEO. Yeah, we haven't got to a stage where we are working with sub departments with their own delegated authority on budget. It's still the same size of company.
Your revenue split, you're 330 in Jan. What of that is that type of business versus what of it is like at cost you're doing it for your kind of investments, roughly?
I think we're on the journey to being 80-20. I'd say we're like 75-25 at the minute.
So 75% of your revenue is full fat margin to either a scale up or a bigger company or an innovation product within a company up to 50 million.
I would say at the moment, yeah. And we have a strategy around how we're going to re-ramp up ventures, but we're comfortable certainly with the way the UK investment market is at the minute. We're comfortable with that split. It's a good split for us.
And is it mainly of that 80% then of just normal service fees? What percentage of that is UK versus US versus anywhere else?
So that's an interesting thing, So in 2023-24, we did 12% of our revenue out of North America. Not a lot, right? But then again, we only had Jackie in Canada, and she was trying hard, but it was difficult. 32% last year.
Of that 80%, roughly.
No, 32% of our entire revenue came from North America. This year, we're going for a minimum of 45%. Because the UK, honestly, is fucked. And the US, whether you like Trump or not, and we're not going to get into that discussion, he is going to give confidence to the market.
Yeah, okay. And how's your pipeline looking? As in, how many deals are you working on? And just give us a flavour of a couple of them.
So we've got 38, I think, deals in the pipeline. Real mix of early stage stuff will probably fall away through to more mature stuff. There's 6 that I'm currently taking through. Luke and Marco and Menashe are probably working on a further 10. And of those, we would anticipate to add in probably 2 to 3 a month. That's probably like the kind of, the funnel that we get through. In terms of are you interested in the sector? Are you interested in the size?
Yeah.
What? Yeah.
I do.
So,
tell me.
So sector stuff we're seeing quite a bit of obviously AI enabled, but the nice thing about it is it's AI enabled to disrupt an industry rather than just a wrapper. So it's got like a purpose in the sector. So there's a fair few of those. And that ranges from healthcare to insurance. We've got some stuff in kind of broad marketplace retail.
And are they all rich? Are they all like a brand new product? Or is some of it like fixing shit that's gone wrong or like working on, like you said, you don't touch legacy. Do you never touch Ultra?
No, we do. Yeah, we call it brownfields. We used to do more brownfields than we do now. We've got one brownfield opportunity at the minute where there is the chance that one team that are currently working on it aren't necessarily delivering as well as possible. So we're looking at whether we would be suitable to take it over. Do we want to do it? Are we the right team to do it? So that does happen every now and then. But more and more we get greenfield work, which is good, right? Because I think that means that people are beginning to understand who we are finally. I think we get good referrals. It's much better to have greenfield than it is brown in our innovative kind of.
So is your
things.
Ideal customer like, a business that does 20, 25 million turnover, whatever, they have been around for a while, they got solid profits, but they've noticed that this they want to improve their business using tech in whatever way, and they're like, "Fuck, we need to build this thing. We haven't got a clue how to do it. Here we are."
Yeah, I mean, I think we would love, we typically run with about 30 customers. That's what we normally run with. Be those founders that we've invested in or people that we haven't invested in but work with. I would love 6 to 8 companies of that kind of structure or that kind of profile, if you will, because they tend to be very solid payers. Their accounts tend to be a decent size, and it just covers off the cash. It covers off a good chunk of your cash flow. So getting 6 to 8 of those this year would be fantastic. We're probably running at 3 that I could classify as that. And then that gives us the opportunity to do the other things with the security, knowing that, bills are paid and we've got some good solid things to grow from.
Okay, cool. All right. Anything for me?
I mean, I'd love to know, particularly on the Marketing Pro side. We talked the other day about the uptick that you've got and how you're handling. I think you said 27 leads in January, up from, I don't know what you normally get, but 27 active conversations is big for a team of your size. I mean, we got similar amount, but we've got a team of 5, working solely on growth. I'd love to know what caused that. I'm genuinely fascinated as to what caused it for you and what you're doing to handle it and which ones you're going to pick, because I don't suppose you can take them all.
So we have 27 placements that we are working on actively. So they're actually things that we have pushed through the funnel to actually start working on.
That's great.
And what we do now is we spend a lot of time just qualifying the businesses up front. What we've learned in the last 12 months is that a lot of companies are just not the right fit for us for various reasons. So anything that makes it onto that 27 is a role that we think we can place, and we want to work with the company. It's a good placement for the person on our side. In terms of the way that we do it capacity wise, the thing that is the biggest lever that we have got working is that company comes in, they ask for a person. In most cases, we normally know who that person is, or we know where to find that person, or we know how to, we know how we're going to get that person, because we've been doing this for 4 or 5 years now, and we've got a pretty big database of talent. Then that all of the time really is just going to find the people. So that's been the biggest lever. That's what has improved our capacity.
So what are you going to do next? Is it going to be a continuation of that? I mean, when we were at the period of time you were at, 5 years, that's when we saw a big lift and a big spike, and we decided to grow in a certain way. What's the plan to move away from discussions about revenue? What does the 2025 plan look like for Marketing Pros? Are you going to try and push on to have that level of opportunities consistently? Are you going to get to a certain size and take stock? What's the strategy?
So this year, the key word is we're just trying to simplify everything, really. So last year we were doing this course, for example, which is a great idea, worked pretty well. This year, we've just pulled everyone and all of the resources into the core business, which is just finding the talent. And so we're just going to run the same playbook, but just keep improving it for 2025. And that playbook is, you come to us, you want a really good person, and then we find that person for you. Because whilst that sounds simple, there's a kind of a ton of nuance in that. And I just want that core product to be as good as possible. And so that's where we're just putting all of our resources in, just making these placements as good as we can, and building the supply side, which is the hardest bit of it, which is making sure we have good people that want to be placed through us, that want to work with us.
What do they value, the supply side?
I think the main thing they value, is opportunity. Is can we give them access to really good roles. The reality and what I want it to be are probably a little bit different. In my mind, I'm like, we're a talent agency. They come to us. We manage their careers. We help them pick their way through this marketplace. And we do that to some extent. And I hope we can do that more. But in reality, the number one thing is that we can provide them a good company to work for with a good salary. And then we do all of their payroll and taxes and that kind of thing. That's probably what they would say if they were being completely honest. It's not what I would want them to say. I would want them to say, Marketing Pros is going to manage my career. I trust these guys to do all of that. And they would see that to an extent, but the main things are opportunity.
Yeah, opportunity and be an element of security to it as well, won't there?
Yeah, an element of security, because otherwise a lot of companies will try and recruit in South Africa, but they just end up on these kind of contracts as they're seen as like an international disposable person. And what we often can do is if we place someone and they lose their job, A, we manage that process for them, but B, we can normally find them something else. Like if we've got 27 life opportunities, there's normally going to be something in there that's right for them, particularly if they're good.
Mm-hmm. Have you seen like across the like the last year or so when Marketing Pros has really began to tick up? Have you seen a change in the team, like internally, like your growth team, who's responsible for, doing on the demand side? Is there have you put processes in place? Have you got like a way to go and scale the team up to sort out the demand side, or are you mainly going to work on brand development and referrals and the rest of it? It's been a shift or not?
I would say the main way that we have got leads is through kind of partners and referrals and things that are, they're less scalable. And we're looking, we're doing some email outreach, for example, at the moment. We're doing a little bit of paid, and that kind of works. But it's a little bit, the reality is a little bit, we've just got so much incoming stuff that, me personally, I'm just getting so sucked into the kind of doing the deals and the day-to-day and managing the team that it's trying to balance building that sustainable pipeline with just kind of dealing with what we have. So it's just a little bit of a kind of resourcing, where do I put my time challenge at the moment. So I would...
Go on. I was just going to say, do you package things like very easily? So, drawn into the deals, the deal making. Is it quite black and white? Like I need a person for an X period of time with this kind of skill set. Okay, the salary is going to be X. Because obviously every person that you employ, you're passing that through. So that shifts slightly. So is it locked in as a price? I'm just thinking about how easy your growth job is. How easy is it to sell for for Marketing Pros? So is it bespoke every single time, or is it packaged?
Yeah.
Is it product?
It's pretty productized. Our process is productized in that we take every client and every process through the same journey, but it's a more white glove. Like it's, okay, what do you need specifically? What does your business need? And then how much is that going to cost? And it's helping that company kind of get the best deal. It's not, you need an SEO writer for 40 hours. That costs $2,500. Right, here's 3, meet them tomorrow, then choose. We sort of looked at it being that, but the reality is I don't think this is that kind of business. I think it is more nuanced than that. Every business wants something slightly different. And we are not judging out. What we have found is when we have tried to do that, and we've tried it to a degree, the effectiveness of the placement comes down quite a bit. If we spend time up front and we really understand the business, try and get them the best deal, really try and find the right person, the tenure is way longer. And because we get more money the longer they're in, I think it makes more sense to be more kind of white glove up front.
Yeah.
Or it can work both ways. And there's a ton of agencies that are more productized, particularly like there's a lot in the US market, they do it in the Philippines. There's a few in SA that do that. And I actually do think it can work. But I think like in terms of like what's the best thing for the customer and what's going to drive the most like long-term value is if we can do really good placements, and if on the SA side we have a really good reputation, and if we have that market there and people trust us and they come to us, all the best people come to us and they say, cool, help me find a job, I think that's what will make the business the best. So I do like these kind of more productized models, but I think we're going to go down this path of it being a little bit more, a bit more bespoke.
Well, we're that way. I mean, we often refer our service internally, at least, as, we're less kind of customer waiter. We're more like doctor patient, because a lot of the people that we work with understand their why, right, but they don't know how to go about doing what they need to go and do. So it is very white glove. It's our special secret sauce in that piece in the middle, which differentiates us from so many businesses that have got the technical capability that we have, is that how in the middle. And it is that white glove. It's like you can understand what your customers are needing. You can understand, okay, you can read between the lines of what they could possibly need, and then it's that pairing. And it's a human pairing, right? And you're not doing it at a volume that you can't do that. I mean, I don't know what your ultimate goal is. Probably a couple of hundred people, I would imagine, would be a good sized business to be running. You can, even at that point, you can still handle that in a very human way. And I think I actually think that's the best way to do it for what you do, particularly as it's slightly nuanced. Every company's different, personalities are different. And to make that recruitment job work, you need to really understand the EQ side of it. And I see that with Lindsay's work in headhunting. The EQ side of recruitment is massive. The human side is massive. I think if you went too much down the productized route, you lose it, because you're selling humans to humans, aren't you? You're not selling software as a service or anything like that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of people try to sort of put these businesses into boxes that make them feel good. Okay, we productize it, you buy this many hours, it costs kind of this. And as you say, in this, my experience with this, and we've done probably not far off 100 of these placements now, some that have worked, some that haven't. As you say, like everyone is very, very different. And it is the most human of human jobs, this way more than even kind of a service business. Is that person going to match with that person? And that is, completely AI resistant as a business model. But we've been through this thing that like, do the recruiters or the people that go and find the person, do they need to like meet the end client? And I've always been like, of course they do. The vibe between those people is huge. There was a little bit of debate around, but if it's just a good person, it should work. But we've landed on, they've got to know the end client. I think that's right. And as you say, it's just human to human. And when you're selling people, which I'm just starting to learn, because I'm not a recruiter, as you know, by trade, and it is a brutal business, actually. It's way more brutal than I thought, because you're selling shit that can it's not like you're selling a fucking house or a yacht that's just fixed. You're the thing you're selling can just change their mind. They can want something else, It is, and brokerage businesses are also brutal, because, everyone gives estate agents, real estate agents, recruiters a hard time. But having now done this in the trenches for a while, not that long, I'm like, no, this is tough, because it never sleeps. Shit always goes wrong. You're always dealing with problems. And so I've got a newfound respect for recruiters and for real estate people and anyone that is like doing broking deals. You'd be great. I'd love, you'd be great.
You think I should do it? Should I come and do some work experience at Marketing Pros? Yeah. Just get me out there reading these people. Yeah. It is interesting. I mean, one of our investments, ICQ Global, they basically work on intercultural intelligence and psychological safety. So this guy's done he hasn't a PhD, he's done a couple of masters in it. Super smart guy, written books, Chaba, his name is. The work that he does, the conversations we have, and the case studies he talks to me about, where mergers and acquisitions totally crumble based purely on culture. Hires, marketing doesn't get on with sales, or engineering doesn't get on with this, or Hong Kong doesn't get on with Bangkok. These things that go on, these companies, they're beginning to wake up to it. The intercultural kind of intelligence of, It's not about whether you are from Hong Kong or whether you're from Bangkok. You could be from Bangkok, North Bangkok, or from Nong Khai in northern Thailand. Everything is different. How you're brought up is different. The nurture that you received. And he basically assesses people and then can map teams and understands where the outliers are and then does consultative work to make those teams more symbiotic and effective. And it's like an extension of what you're learning how to do now. And he's, dedicated 10 or 15 years to it. It's fascinating stuff.
What I think I'm really starting to appreciate doing all of these placements and the teams that we have internally is that I think people underestimate like the importance of. Everyone will say it really matters that you get good people into your business, but I think people really underestimate the importance. The difference between an average performer and a really top performer is unbelievable. And I think there aren't that many, really good performers. But if you can find them and attract them to your business, it's just unbelievable. And I actually think it's everything. And it's not good performance. I don't think comes down to intelligence, training, any of those. It comes just down to like how well you can manage yourself, how well you can regulate your emotions, how well you can interact with other people. Yeah, you've got to have a baseline of technical knowledge and a baseline of, IQ. But the best people that we place, the best people in the businesses, all of them, none of them don't have really good sort of ability to manage themselves. And that is what we look for when we hire people, and one of the things that we look for. And I think it's fascinating because so many people are just so good. They've got so much potential. It's fucking all over the place. They are all over the place psychologically. They think this and then they do this and then they make really bad decisions. Then they piss people off. Their EQ is just shit. And that is one major problem. The second major problem is people that are they just don't want to do the work. They're just not really that motivated, a bit lazy. So often people have both of those factors. Either one's fatal. But if you can find that little gold at the top, that person that has got the EQ, they've got the motivation, they've got the baseline technical intelligence, technical skills, not easy to find. People think they can just fucking, put an ad on Upwork and find that person. Not going to happen. You need some white glove, didn't you, Rich?
We do need some white glove. I think just to kind of as a closing remark on that topic, we started watching the Aaron Rodgers documentary on, I think it was Netflix last night. What a fascinating human being he is. Like his journey from what he did in terms of his own development psychologically and physically and from his talent perspective, unreal. So many people could learn from his methods and thinking and the way he approached stuff, and also his relentless kind of like pursuit of becoming, a significantly talented quarterback, and then what to do once he'd achieved the Super Bowl. I mean, we're only on to the second episode, but I think from what you just said, because I was just thinking when you were talking, I was like, well, great, but what do people do if they feel like they are? What do they do to fix that? How do they go about doing that? And I'm sure there's books, there's mentorships, everything, but I would say start with the Aaron Rodgers documentary.
Aaron Rodgers. And while we're talking about NFL quarterbacks, the Tom Brady story is a joke. He was, I think he had very little capability. Physically, he was a joke, but mentally and his dedication.
We're a joke. I don't know if he's a joke. I think he was above us. So there's levels. You
want to Google Tom Brady. I can't remember what they call it in the US, but they do like a combine, NFL combine, where they go
combine,
and they test their like physical capability. I would say, I don't think you're in dramatically different shape now to what he was then, or certainly your 21-year-old self. But he just had unbelievable mentality of, okay, this is what I need to do physically, mentally, technically, tactically. And at his home, he's got fucking all these videos and DVDs of every defense, all these plays. He's just incredibly diligent and dedicated. And I'm sure Rodgers is the same. But, it's the same across all sport.
Application, isn't it?
Just application. And just trundling along. All right, let's do an outro. I'll do it this week, shall I? Mm-hmm. Building innovative product is brutally hard. You're probably going to burn all your cash. You're probably going to fuck it up. You've got a few options. You can hire. you can, just bring in a sort of general agency, or you can hire Mahara, who are everything in their business is pointed towards and has been pointed towards for a decade, building innovative technology products. That's what they do better than anyone. And if that's what you need, don't take a risk. Get in touch with Mahara and get your project going in the right direction. Thanks, Rich.
Thank you, Doug.